Hare Gaura Bhakta Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We continue to read from Srimad Bhagavatam. We are at Canto 5. We begin chapter 7 today. We were hearing the glorious and very important instructions of Lord Rishabhdev. In chapter 5, in chapter 6, we heard about his activities, and now chapter 7, the activities of King Bharat. In this chapter, the activities of King Bharat Maharaj, the emperor of the whole world, are described. Bharat Maharaj performed various ritualistic ceremonies, Vedic yagyas, and satisfied the Supreme Lord by his different modes of worship. In due course of time, he left home and resided in Hardwar and passed his days in devotional activities. Being ordered by his father, Lord Rishabhdev, Bharat Maharaj married Panchajani, the daughter of Vishwaru. After this, he ruled the whole world peacefully. Formerly, this planet was known as Ajnab, and after the reign of Bharat Maharaj, it became known as Bharatvarsh. Bharat Maharaj begot 5 sons in the womb of Panchajani, and he named the sons Sumati, Rashtravrata, Sudarshan, Avran, and Dhumraketu. Bharat Maharaj was very rigid in executing religious principles and following in the footsteps of his father. He therefore ruled the citizens very successfully. Because he performed various yagyas to satisfy the Supreme Lord, he was personally very satisfied. Being of undisturbed mind, he increased his devotional activities unto Lord Vasudev. Bharat Maharaj was competent in understanding the principles of saintly persons like Narad, and he followed in the footsteps of the sages. He also kept Lord Vasudev constantly within his heart. After finishing his kingly duties, he divided his kingdom among his 5 sons. He then left home and went to the place of Pulaha, known as Pulaha Ashram. There he ate forest vegetables and fruits and worshipped Lord Vasudev with everything available. Thus he increased his devotion towards Vasudev, and he automatically began to realize further his transcendental blissful life. Due to his highly advanced spiritual position, there were sometimes visible in his body the Ashta-sattvika transformations, such as ecstatic crying and bodily trembling, which are symptoms of love of Godhead. It is understood that Maharaj Bharat worshipped the Supreme Lord with the mantras mentioned in the Rig Veda, generally known as Gayatri Mantra, which aim at the Supreme Narayan situated within the sun. So, from this brief summary, we could understand that Bharat Maharaj, all the rituals that he was doing, all the sacrifice he was doing, was for the pleasure of Supreme Lord, not to gain anything material, but to satisfy God, Vasudev. And he was on the platform of bhava, very, very high spiritual position, where he has emotion for God. Loves his, it's just before prema, where the emotion is already there for God. So that's because of these emotions, then he has the transformation of the body. So love of Godhead is like a fully blossomed flower. And the bud, when it's just beginning to open, that is the stage of bhava. The love is beginning in the heart. So very, very high position, Bharat Maharaj. So text 1. Shri Shuka Vachan.
Shri Shuka Vacha.
Bharatastu Mahabhagavato Yada Bhagavattavanitala.
Bharatastu Mahabhagavato Yada Bhagavattavanitala.
Paripalanaya Chintitas Anushasana Para Panchajanim.
परिपालनाय संचित्तितस्तत् अनुशासन पर पंचजनी
Vishwarupa duhitaram upayeme.
विश्वरूपा दुहितरम उपयेमे.
Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sukadev Goswami continued speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, my dear king. Bharat Maharaj was a topmost devotee, following the orders of his father, who had already decided to install him on the throne. He began to rule the earth accordingly. When Bharat Maharaj ruled the entire globe, he followed the orders of his father and married Panchajani, the daughter of Vishwarup. So his father, Lord Rishabdev, had told him, "You marry Panchajani, who's the daughter of Vishwarup," and he did so, and he was ruling the whole earth in accordance to what his father had taught him. Tasyam hu Uhava Atmajan Katsneya Nanurupan Atmana Pancha.
तस्याम उ वा आत्मजान कार्तृष्येनानुरूपान आत्मन पंच
Janayam asa bhutadir iva bhuta sukshmani sumatim rashtrabhritam.
जनयाम आसभूतादिर इव भूत सूक्ष्मानि सुमतिम राष्ट्र प्रीतम
Sudarshanam avranam dhumraketum iti.
सुदर्शनम आवरणम तु प्रकेतुम इति.
Just as the false ego creates the subtle sense objects, Maharaj Bharat, I'm sorry, Maharaj Bharat created 5 sons in the womb of Panchajani, his wife. These sons were named Sumati, Rashtrabhrata, Sudarshan, Avarna, and Dhumraketu. So, we heard when the creation happens, we were hearing in the second canto, third canto, in the matter of creation. So the Mahatattva is created, and then the false ego is created. Then the false ego further mixes with the modes, and then how the sense objects are created. So this is how that example is given. Just as the mixing of false ego with the modes, then Bharat Maharaj, he begot 5 sons. अजनाभं नामितद्वर्षं भारतम् इति यत आरभ्य व्यपदिशन्ति. Formerly, this planet was known as Ajnabha Varsh, but since Maharaj Bharat's reign, it has become known as Bharat Varsh. This planet was formerly known as Ajnabha because of the reign of King Nabhi. After Bharat Maharaj ruled the planet, it became celebrated as Bharatvarsh. So King Nabhi was the father of Lord Rishabdev. So means the grandfather of Bharat Maharaj. So the Nabhi was ruling the world so nicely that the whole planet was named after him, Ajnabha. And then Bharat Maharaj, he also ruled the world so nicely. It called Bharatvarsh. The whole planet was called Bharatvarsh. Now, of course, only the tract of land, India, is called Bharatvarsh. But before, this whole planet, Earth planet, was called Bharatvarsh.
Hare Krishna, I'm a bit confused. When did Lord
Yes,
Chaitanya come? Is it after or before? Before
Lord
Bhagavan.
Chaitanya,
Yeah.
only 500 years ago, much after.
Okay, so this is much before, right? Okay.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is much before. स बहुविन महीपति पितृ पितामहवद उरु वत्सलतया स्वे स्वे.
स बहुविन महीपति पितृ पितामहवत् Uru Vatsala Yattaya Swe Swe.
Karmani Vartamana Praja Swadharmam Anuvartamana Paryapalayat.
Karmani Vartamana Praja Swadharmam Anuvartamana Paryapalayat.
Maharaj Bharat was a very learned and experienced king on this earth. He perfectly ruled the citizens, being himself engaged in his own respective duties. Maharaj Bharat was as affectionate to the citizens as his father and grandfather had been. Keeping them engaged in their occupational duties, he ruled the earth. It is most important that the chief executive rule the citizens by keeping them fully engaged in their respective occupational duties. Some of the citizens were Brahmanas, some were Kshatriyas, and some were Vaishyas and Shudras. It is the duty of the government to see that the citizens act according to these material divisions for their spiritual advancement. So the Varna Sharma is not spiritual, but is a stepping stone to spirituality. It's of course based on our gunas, our karma, which are material, but it helps us. It's like a stepping stone. No one should remain unemployed or unoccupied in any way. One must work as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra on the material path, and on the spiritual path, everyone should act as a brahmachari, grahast, vanaprast, or sannyasi. So the idea is like Arjuna also was telling Krishna, I'm going to go to the forest, I'm going to renounce. Krishna said, don't artificially renounce. You do your duty for my satisfaction. So the same point is being said here. Prabhupada is saying, no one is employed or unoccupied. Everyone should do their duty, whatever it may be, for the satisfaction of Krishna. Hmm? So, although formally the government was a monarchy, all the kings were very affectionate toward the citizens and they strictly kept them engaged in their respective duties. Therefore, society was very smoothly conducted. So, the kings were taking care of the citizens just like a father takes care of the children. They were very, very kind, very affectionate to everyone. So, everyone was peaceful, everyone was well taken care of. Ijeja Bhagavantam Yagya Kraturupam Kratubir Uchavachen.
Ije cha Bhagavantam Yagya Krato Rupam Kratubir Uchavache.
Shraddhaya Shritagnihotra Darsham Purn I'm sorry, Purnamasa Chaturmasya Pashu.
Shraddhaya Hritagni Hotra Darsha Purna Masa Chaturmasya Pashu.
Somanam Prakriti Vrikritibir Anusavanam Chatur Hotra Vidhina.
Somanam Prakriti Vikriti Anusavanam Chaturhotra Vidina.
With great faith, King Bharat performed various kinds of sacrifice. He performed the sacrifices known as Agnihotra, Darsha, Purnamas, Chaturmasya, Pashu Yagya, wherein a horse is sacrificed, and Soma Yagya, wherein a kind of beverage is offered. Sometimes, I'm sorry, sometimes these sacrifices were performed completely and sometimes partially. In any case, in all the sacrifices, the regulations of Chaturhotra were strictly followed. In this way, Bharat Maharaj worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Animals like horses and cows were offered in sacrifice to test the proper execution of the sacrifice. Otherwise, there was no purpose in killing the animal. Actually, the animal was offered in the sacrificial fire to get a rejuvenated life. Generally, an old animal was sacrificed in the fire and it would come out again in a youthful body. Some of the rituals, however, did not require animal sacrifice. So it's not for the sake of killing the animal, the sacrifice was performed. No, the sacrifice was performed and the animal got a new body, a young body. Imagine if we could get younger bodies. So something like that, to get a rejuvenated body. And also to test if the sacrifice is being done properly. The Brahmanas were so expert, to test the expertise of the Brahmanas. But all the sacrifices were not animal sacrifices. In the present age, animal sacrifices are forbidden, as stated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in Kali Yuga, animal sacrifices are not allowed. Not allowed. Ashramedham gavalambam sanyasam palapaitrikam devarena sutotpatim kalau pancha vivarjayet. In this age of Kali, 5 acts are forbidden: the offering of a horse in sacrifice, the offering of a cow in sacrifice, the acceptance of the order of sannyas, the offering of oblations of flesh to the forefathers, and a man's begetting children in his brother's wife. Caitaniya Caritamita Adi Lila, chapter 17, text 164. Such sacrifices are impossible in this age due to the scarcity of expert brahmanas or ritvija who are able to take the responsibility. So these 5 kind of sacrifices are forbidden. Why? Because there's no expert brahmanas. So what is the sacrifice for this age? The Sankirtan Yagya is recommended. Yagya Sankirtana Prayar Yajanti Hi Sumedasa. Bhagavatam Canto 11, chapter 5, text 32. Yagya Sankirtana Prayar Yajanti Hi Sumedasa. The only sacrifice that is recommended in this age of Kali is Sankirtan, Harinam Sankirtan. After all, sacrifices are executed to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So sacrifice is any act which is performed to please God. So that act is called a sacrifice. In this age of Kali, we can easily please God by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Yagyartha karma. Such activities should be carried out for the Supreme Lord's pleasure. In this age of Kali, the Supreme Lord, in his incarnation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, should be worshipped with his associates by performance of Sankirtan Yagya, the congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. This process is accepted by intelligent men. Yagya Sankirtan Prayar Yajanti Hi Sumedasa. The word Sumedasa refers to intelligent men who possess very good brain substance. So Bhagavatam predicts in 11th canto, Bhagavatam says that those who are intelligent in the age of Kali, they will worship the Supreme Lord who comes as Lord Chaitanya by the congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. Congregationally chanting, Sankirtan Yagya, Sankirtan, with Kirtan can be done alone or Kirtan can be done with others. When it's done with many, it's called Sankirtan. So it's a sign of intelligence that the devotees are intelligent. That's what Bhagavatam is saying. Going on to text 6. Sampracharastu nana yageshu virachitanga kriyeshva apurvam yattat.
Sampracharatsu nana yageshu virachitanga kriyeshva apurvam yattat.
Kriyafalam dharmakhyam pare brahmani yagya purushe sarva.
Kriyafalam dharmakhyam pare brahmani yagya purushe sarva.
Devata linganam mantranam arthaniyam makataya sakshat kartari.
Devata linganam mantranam arthaniyam Kataya Sakshat Kartari
Paradevataayam Bhagavati Vasudeva eva bhavayamana atma.
Paradevataayam Bhagavati Vasudeva eva Bhavayamana Atma
Naipunyam Ridita Kashayo Havishiv Advaryo Virgraha Yamaneshu sa.
Naipunyamritita Kashayo Havisva Advar Yubir Grima Naneshu Sa
Yajamano Yakya Bhajo Devam Stan Shava Yavesha Vyatyaya.
Yajamano Yagyabhajo Devams Tan Purushavayasvesva Abhyadayayat.
After performing the preliminaries of various sacrifices, Maharaj Bharat offered the results in the name of religion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva. In other words, he performed all the yagyas for the satisfaction of Lord Vasudeva, Krishna. Maharaj Bharat thought that since the demigods were different parts of Vasudev's body, he controls those who are explained in the Vedic mantras. By thinking in this way, Maharaj Bharat was freed from all material contamination, such as attachment, lust, and greed. When the priests were about to offer the sacrificial ingredients into the fire, Maharaj Bharat expertly understood how the offering made to different demigods was simply an offering to the different limbs of the Lord. For instance, Indra is the arm of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Surya, the sun, is his eye. Thus, Maharaj Bharat considered that the oblations offered to different demigods were actually offered unto the different limbs of Lord Vasudeva. The Supreme Personality of Godhead says that as long as one does not develop the pure devotional service of Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, one must carry out his prescribed duties. Since Bharat Maharaj was a great devotee, one may ask why he performed so many sacrifices that are actually meant for karmis. The fact is that he was simply following the orders of Vasudeva. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityagya, Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. Bhagavad Gita 18.66. Whatever we do, we should constantly remember Vasudeva. Krishna says also, no, in the 9th chapter, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you give away, do it, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. People are generally addicted to offering obeisances to various demigods, but Bharat Maharaj simply wanted to please Lord Vasudeva. So Vasudeva understood that all the offerings that the Brahmanas were making to the demigods were the demigods are actually the limbs of the Supreme Lord. They are parts of the complete whole. They're serving the Supreme Lord. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvaloke Maheshwaram, Bhagavad Gita 5:29. A yagya may be carried out to satisfy a particular demigod, but when the yagya is offered to the Yagya Purush, Narayan, the demigods are satisfied. So Prabhupada is saying that one may do a particular yagya to please a particular demigod, but actually all yagyas are done to please God. Only when God accepts his offering do the demigods, then they accept their offerings as prasad. So chapter 5, text 29, Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada would call this the peace formula, Bhuktaram Yagya Tapasam, that all sacrifices are meant for pleasure of Krishna. Krishna is the real, actual enjoyer of all sacrifices. Bhuktaram Yagya Tapasam. All sacrifices and penances are performed for pleasure of Krishna. And that Krishna is the demigod, is the controller of the demigods. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He's the controller of the demigods. Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. He's the best friend of all living entities. He's everyone's best friend. Gyatva mam shantim richati. Knowing this, one can actually become peaceful. We are all searching for peace. But if we can just understand that the supreme controller, the supreme enjoyer, the best friend of everyone is Lord Krishna, then we can become peaceful. That he's even the controller of the demigods. The purpose of performing different yagyas is to satisfy the Supreme Lord. When we perform them in the name of different demigods or directly. If we directly offer oblations to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the demigods are automatically satisfied. If we water the root of a tree, the branches, twigs, fruits, and flowers are automatically satisfied. When one offers sacrifices to different demigods, one should remember that the demigods are simply parts of the body of the Supreme. If we worship the hand of a person, we intend to satisfy the person himself. If we massage a person's legs, we do not really serve the legs, but the person who possesses the legs. It's true, no? When we are massaging someone's leg, it's not to give pleasure. We are not serving the leg, but we are serving the person, the whole. All the demigods are different parts of the Lord. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's a very nice example given here. You
Yeah, I
massage
think so.
the leg, but it's the person who's getting the comfort. Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
true. Mm.
Mm. So all the demigods are different parts of the Lord, and if we offer service to them, we actually serve the Lord Himself. Demigod worship is mentioned in Brahma Samhita, but actually the shlokas advocate worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda. So all demigod worship is actually meant to worship Krishna. The demigod offer whatever offerings they receive, they first offer it to Krishna. Then they accept it as prasad. So, for instance, the worship of goddess Durga is mentioned in this way in Brahma Samhita 5.44. Shrishti sthiti pralaya sadhana shaktireka chayeva yasya bhuvanani vibharti Durga ichhanurupam api yasya cha chestate sa govindam adi purusham tam aham bhajami. Following the orders of Sri Krishna, the goddess Durga creates, maintains, and annihilates. So, this the personification of material energy is goddess Durga, Mother. And she is creating and maintaining and annihilating, but under whose order? Under the order of Krishna. Shri Krishna also confirms this statement in Bhagavad Gita, Mayadhyakshena prakritihi suyate sacharacharam. This material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and it is producing all moving and unmoving beings. Bhagavad Gita 9.10. So Krishna is saying that this material energy, it's not that she's independent, not that she's doing whatever she wants, however she wants. No, it's all under Krishna's supervision. So Lord Brahma is saying the same thing, Krishna is also saying the same thing, that the material energy is working under the control of Krishna. We should worship the demigods in that spirit because the goddess Durga satisfies Krishna. We should therefore offer respects to goddess Durga. So this is the way that we see them in relation to Krishna, that they are dear devotees of Krishna, that they are pleasing Krishna by doing their service. And so they are worthy of our highest respect. Because Lord Shiva is nothing but Krishna's functional body, we should therefore offer respects to Lord Shiva. So Krishna, he rules this material world through Lord Shiva. Krishna does not personally associate with the material energy, but Lord Shiva is an expansion of Krishna. So through Lord Shiva, Lord Krishna is Lord Shiva is controlling Mother Nature, right? He is the husband of Durga Devi, and Lord Shiva is an expansion of Krishna. And in this way, we seek Lord Shiva in respect to Lord Krishna. Similarly, we should offer respects to Brahma, Agni, and Surya. There are many offerings to different demigods, and one should always remember that these offerings are usually meant to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bharat Maharaj did not aspire to receive some benediction from demigods. His aim was to please the Supreme Lord. So Bharat Maharaj, he was doing many of these sacrifices, but it was not for the pleasure of any particular demigod. He wanted to please Krishna by doing these sacrifices. In the Mahabharata, among the 1,000 names of Vishnu, it is said Yajna-Bhog, Yajna-Krit Yajna, the enjoyer of Yajna, the performer of Yajna, and Yajna itself are the Supreme Lord. So in Mahabharata, the 1,000 names of Vishnu are mentioned. And Lord Vishnu is referred as Yajna-Bhog, Yajna-Krit, and Yajna. So Yajna-Bhog, enjoyer of Yajna. Yajna-Krit, the performer of Yajna, and Yajna, which is Yajna itself. So this is all the Supreme Lord. Enjoyer of Yajna is Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu. Performer of Yajna. How do we understand the performer of Yajna is itself Lord as the Supreme Lord? How could we understand that? Because the performer would be the devotee, right? Yajna is the Lord, okay, that we can understand, but how could we understand that the performer of Yajna is the Supreme Lord? Anyone? Yeah, anyway, we just going to read
Because
further.
of his mercy, only the person who's doing the yajna is able to complete the yajna.
Yeah, we could see it that way, by the mercy of the Lord. Yeah, that the person is able to do the yajna. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, we could look at it that way. Thank
So
you.
that's how the Supreme Lord's hand is there. That is why this yajna is able to be performed and completed in the proper way.
Yeah, yes.
Hare
Yes, we
Krishna.
could see it that way. Yes, thank you. Thank you. The Supreme Lord is the performer of everything, but out of ignorance, the living entity thinks that he's the actor. Yeah, well, here Srila Prabhupada is pointing, and that's what you mentioned. So thank you. As long as we think we are the actors, we bring about karma bandha, bondage to activity. If we act for yajna, for Krishna, there is no karma bandha. So we always thinking, I'm doing it, I'm doing it, I'm doing it. But if we can understand that I'm doing it for the pleasure of Krishna, then that work is not gonna bind us. So out of ignorance, we are thinking that I'm doing it. Whereas the Supreme Lord is the performer. As you said, the Lord's hand is there in everything. By His mercy, it's possible to do. Yes. Thank you. If we act for yajna for Krishna, there is no karma bandha. Yajnarthat karmano nyatra loko yam karma bandhana. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed, otherwise work binds one to this material world. So we are always working, we're always doing something or the other. But Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita that work for my pleasure, offer the result of your activities to me. And in this way, you can get liberated from this material world. You will not get any karma. Otherwise, karma will make us come back again to the material world. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu. We cannot stop working. We can't not do anything. We have to Connect the work to Krishna, offer the result to Krishna, work for the pleasure of Krishna. Following the instructions of Bharat Maharaj, we should act not for our personal satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, text 28, it is also stated, Ashadaya hutam datam tapastaptam kritam chayat asad iti uchyate partha nachatat pretya no iha. Sacrifices, austerities, and charities performed without faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead are non-permanent. Regardless of whatever rituals are performed, they are called asat, non-permanent. Therefore, they are therefore useless both in this life and the next. So sacrifice, austerity, and charity, Krishna is saying these acts should never be given up. He's saying in Bhagavad Gita that, one should continue. Even if one is liberated, one still does. If one is renounced, one still should perform sacrifice, austerity, and charity. And then now he's saying if they have performed without faith in God, then they are non-permanent. They are called asad, and so they are useless. Why is that? Anyone?
Because you're not doing for the pleasure of Krishna.
And so then?
That is fine.
And then what happens then? So why they are called non-permanent? Because the results that they will give, they will be also be non-permanent. They will be
temporary. Temporary.
They'll be temporary. So sacrifice, austerity, and charity one will get result out of it. But if if it's done for personal sense gratification, that result will be temporary. It will be for some time. Maybe it will take us to the heavenly planets or keep us on this earth planet in a very opulent way. But that result will go away. That's why it's called non-permanent. But if it's done for the pleasure of Krishna, the result that we will get is eternal. That result will never be lost. It will eternally stay with the soul. It's the eternal bank balance, if we can say that, eternal bank balance of the soul. Then it helps the soul to get out of the material world. So kings like Maharaj Ambarish and many other Rajarishis, who were pure devotees of the Lord, simply passed their time in the service of the Supreme Lord. When a pure devotee executes some service through the agency of another person, he should not be criticized, for his activities are meant for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. A devotee may have a priest perform some karmakand, and the priest may not be a pure Vaishnava. But because the devotee wants to please the Supreme Lord, he should not be criticized. So the intention, again, we are coming to the point that the intention is important. Why are we doing a certain thing? If the intention is to do for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, then that's perfect. The word apurva is very significant. The resultant actions of karma are called apurva. When we act piously or impiously, immediate results do not ensue. We therefore wait for the results, which are called apurva. The results are manifest in the future. Even the smartas accept this apurva. So what Prabhupada is saying, when we do any pious activity, so we may need to wait for future life to get the result of the activity. Just like, we were hearing that Prachina Parishat, he was doing all these active sacrifices because he wanted to go to the heavenly planets. So that would be in the next life. No? Or we heard the king, Priyavrat's son, he was doing sacrifices. He wanted to go to Pitralok. So after some time, So that's why it's called apurva. So pure devotees simply act for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the results of the activities are spiritual or permanent. They are not like those of the karmis, which are non-permanent. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.23. Gata sangasya muktasya jnanavasthita cetasa jnana yacharata karma samagram praviliyate. The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. So one gets spiritual results, eternal results, when one works for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. A devotee is always free from material contamination. He is fully situated in knowledge, and therefore his sacrifices are intended for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the pure devotee, he's liberated. He's not under the control of modes of nature. So he's liberated. He's Jivan Mukta. He has knowledge. He is Gyan. And because of this, he works. He works for the pleasure of God. Therefore, his sacrifices are intended for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So because the pure devotee, he completely understands, oh, I'm not the body, I'm spirit, soul, part and parcel of God. Let me act for the pleasure of God. So that's his consciousness, purified consciousness. Evam karma vishuddhya vishuddha sattvasyantar hridyakasha sharire.
Evam karma vishuddhya vishuddha sattvasyantar hridaya kasha sharire.
Brahmani Bhagavati Vasudeve Mahapurusha Rupopalakshane.
Brahmani Bhagavati Vasudeve Mahapurusha Rupopalakshane.
Srivatsa Kaustubha Vanimala Darar Gadadibir Upalakshite Nija.
Srivatsa Kaustubha Vanamalari Dhara Gadadibir Upalakshite Nija.
Purusha Hrilikhi Tenatmani Purusha Rupena Virochamana Uchaistaram.
Purusha Hillikitenatmani Purusha Rupena Virochamana Uchaistaram.
Bhaktir Anudinam Edhamana Rayajayata.
Bhaktir Anudinam Edamana Rayajayata.
In this way, being purified of ritualistic sacrifices, the heart of Maharaj Bharat was completely uncontaminated. His devotional service unto Vasudev, Lord Krishna, increased day after day. Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudev, is the original personality of Godhead, manifest as the Supersoul Paramatma, as well as the impersonal Brahman. Yogis meditate upon the localized Paramatma situated in the heart. Jnanis worship the impersonal Brahman as the supreme absolute truth. And devotees worship Vasudev, the supreme personality of Godhead, whose transcendental body is described in the Shastras. His body is decorated with the Srivatsa, the Kaustubha jewel, and a flower garland, and his hands hold a conch shell, disc, club, and lotus flower. Devotees like Narad always think of him within their hearts. Lord Vasudev, or Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So who's God? Sri Krishna. Krishna is God. God is Krishna. He's manifest within the hearts of yogis in his Paramatma feature, and he's worshipped as impersonal Brahman by Jnanis. So the yogis, who are they worshipping? They are worshipping the Paramatma. Who's the Paramatma? He's an expansion of Krishna. And The Jnanis are worshipping the Brahmajyoti, the Brahman. So, what is the Brahman? Is the effulgence coming from the body of Krishna. So, we can see the yogis, the Jnanis, and the Bhaktas, they're all worshipping the Supreme Absolute Truth in his feature as either Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagwan. Of course, the complete realization of Absolute Truth is Bhagwan, that he's a person. The Paramatma feature is described in the Shastras as having 4 hands, holding disc, conch shell, lotus, flower, and club, as confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam 2-8. Kechit svadehantarhridaya vakashe pradesha matram purusham vasantam chaturbhajam kancharathanga shankha gadadharam dharanaya smarante. Paramatma is situated in the hearts of all living beings. He has 4 hands which hold 4 symbolic weapons. All devotees who think of the Paramatma within the heart worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the temple deity. They also understand the impersonal features of the Lord and his bodily rays, the Brahman effulgence. So here, Prabhupada is quoting Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, Text 8, the Paramatma. The form of Paramatma is the 4-armed Vishnu form. And in each of the 4 hands, he is holding the chakra, the gada, the lotus flower, and the conch shell. So the yogis, they are seeing the Paramatma in the heart. They are worshipping the Supreme Lord in his form as Paramatma. So the yogis who are doing meditation, they are meditating on this Paramatma feature, not on something void or some imaginary thing. No, the yogis are meditating on Paramatma, the Vishnu form. And this Paramatma
It's the
is
Narayan
also
form,
worshipped
right?
Narayan form. Yes,
Mm.
yes, Narayan form. Within the heart, worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the temple deity. So the deity in the temple is also this Paramatma form. Worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the temple deity. So the
What does
devotees,
it
the
mean?
yogis,
It's a temple.
so
There'll be a temple with this form, is it? What
so it
does it
said,
mean?
all devotees who think of the Paramatma within the heart worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the temple deity. So the devotees who understand that God is Paramatma in the heart, all devotees who think of the Paramatma within the heart, worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the temple. They also understand that God is in the temple. Is that what it's trying to say?
That's what I'm also wondering. That
Seems
do
like
they
that,
have a
right?
temple? Like maybe when there's a temple built, also it will have this form, right? Probably.
Worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the temple deity. So the temple worship is done by
Could
the
be.
devotees who understand that God is also Paramatma and he's also the deity. Is it that way to understand?
I think I would understand as like when they have a temple, it will have
Hmm.
the form of Narayan with 4 hands,
It
4
could be
arms.
also. Yeah. Yes. Could be also. Yes. Yes.
Not Sham
And
Sundar, but yeah, Narayan.
Narayan. Yes.
Could
Can
be,
be.
right?
Yeah. And then they also understand that the Brahman, the Brahmajyoti, is the effulgence coming from the form of God, from God's body. So this is what is being said.
Mm.
Mm. Or it could also mean that those who understand that God is the Paramatma, they also engage in deity worship. They also understand that the deity in the temple is also God. could also understand that in that way, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's stop here for so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.